You said when people are waiting for relief, I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential this week for childcare. Talk of inflation. The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
inflationary pressures in the short term. That really is not the issue.
Do you think that you and the president were wrong and inflation is not a short-term pop up a little bit and then go back down issue?
No, I don't think so, Jake.
Literally 6 months ago on the show that the Treasury Secretary and former Fed Chair Janet Yellen said, look, inflation, it's just not an issue. 2 weeks later, when some numbers came out, that was the first time the administration started using the word transitory to say temporary. This is 6 months ago. Is it fair to say this is no longer transitory?
There's no doubt inflation is high right now. It's affecting Americans' pocketbooks. It's affecting their outlook. And that's a problem we have to deal with. But it's important that we put this in context.
When you were here last, I asked you to tell me what you thought inflation would be at the end of this year. And you told me 2%. Do you still stand by that prediction?
Clearly, inflation this year is going to be above 2%.
What do you think it'll be at the end of the year, if not 2%?
Probably closer to 4%.
Expanded child tax credit. You've got the families of over 60 million kids on average getting $430 a month. And the dirty little secret here, Willie, while nobody likes to pay more, on average, we have the money to do so. Household savings hit a record high over the pandemic. We didn't really have anywhere to go out and spend.
And when we do something right, we're going to make a case for it. And when I make a mistake, I'm going to own up to it and say, it was me. I made a mistake.
All the economic signs are bad because the Democrats' economic plan is literally the dumbest plan I've ever seen. Lock down the economy, spend like crazy, pay people not to work, and now this week they're getting ready to pass legislation for all those people who have been working, we're going to raise your taxes. And no one thought it could happen this fast. I mean, we're literally from 10 months ago under President Trump, energy independent country, to now where we are with Joe Biden. And Democrat member from California went to each of the CEOs, Chevron, Mobil, we had BP, Exxon. He said to these guys, badger him, will you pledge to decrease production? And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're badgering American companies to decrease production now at the same time the president of the United States is begging OPEC to increase production. And I said to him, what do you want? $8 gasoline for the families of this great country? So what the president said, yeah, we're going to spend more and that's going to help inflation. No one believes that, if the president does. But John Yarmuth, who's the chairman of the Budget Committee, the Democrat chair of the Budget Committee, it's about a month ago, he said, no, we don't have a deficit or debt problem because we can always print more money. And I'm like, you're the chair of the Budget Committee, for goodness sake.
Unbelievable.
There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. No serious economist. Some folks have raised worries that this could be a sign of persistent inflation, but that's not our view. Our experts believe, and the data shows, that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary.
I would have never believed that Joe Biden, in just 10 months in the presidency, could bring us to a 30-year high of inflation. Of IRS agents to do more audits. The experts are telling us that 30% of middle-class Americans will end up paying higher taxes. And what Nancy Pelosi has shoved in, the special tax breaks for millionaires in California, New York, New Jersey, that is actually going to give a tax break to 2/3 of the millionaires in America. The reason I think prices are going to go way up is because of some of the things that they have put into the bill on energy and on climate, which are going to raise energy costs considerably in the year ahead at a time.
At the same time, we're also experiencing higher demand for goods because wages are up, as well as people have money in the bank. They're staying home, they're ordering online, and they're buying product. But what happens? Prices go up.
This was an issue that the Trump tax cut, the 2017 tax cut, created huge uncertainty in our tax system by capping that deduction for state and local taxes for a couple of years and then letting the cap go away completely. What the fix in the House bill would do would be provide a long-term higher cap on that issue. And so that's in the bill, and we expect that will be part of the bill that will be put on the floor.
You said that it's a workers' market, and that some industries need to create more competitive packages, that it's a good thing, people have more choices. Is that your way of saying that the White House doesn't view this as a problem at all?
I think I also said in response to Weeza's question that there are some industries where we're seeing labor shortages. Many people across the country feel this is a good time to change jobs, right? To look for a more competitive job. What I'm saying is ultimately that's a good thing.
And Build Back Better is not going to cost anything. We're paying for it. It's important to also stress that it's not going to cost anything for the American taxpayer.
It's become a political cudgel, and it shouldn't be. It's impacting, as you said, millions of Americans, no matter their political party, and that's certainly of concern to the president. I would note that everyone from the Federal Reserve to Wall Street agree with our assessment that inflation is already expected to be substantially decelerate next year. And the Build Back Better bill that we are working to move forward will not add to inflationary pressure and will ease inflationary pressure. Our view is that the real risk here is inaction. If we don't act on Build Back Better, what we're doing is we won't be able to cut child care costs in 2020.
Canceling the Keystone Pipeline, halting leases for new drilling leases on federal land, saying that sort of the administration's policies writ large have contributed to the rise in gas prices. What's your response now to that?
Look, our view is that the rise in gas prices over the long term makes an even stronger case for doubling down our investment and our focus on clean energy options.
Remember, you were asking me, and I'm not being critical of you all, I really mean this. It was legitimate questions you're asking me. Asking me, well, guess what? Employers can't find workers. I said, yeah, pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now.
But, the administration's budget and the administration's forecast with this stimulus was that this year we'd have 2% inflation, and it's likely to come in 3 times that. I think they're just not recognizing just how much demand is being created by the tremendous wall of money, 15% of GDP in 1 year that they released last spring.
Help is on the way. Help is on the way. You will receive your $1,400 checks in a few weeks. We Democrats made promises. We said if we gained the Senate, kept the House, and elected the president, we would finally get things done.
Fulfill the promise that President Biden has made all along, that help is on the way.
They will see the checks in their bank accounts. They will see the child tax credits when they file their taxes. And they will feel the impact of this bill for generations to come. And that's what happens when you make historic investments in communities of color
and I want to say to Bernie, stepping up and making the case why this was so transformational. I never saw anybody handle such a controversial, consequential piece of legislation that was right on the edge than Chuck Schumer. What you shepherded through the Congress not only meets the moment, it does even more. It's historical, and they call it transformational. That means $5,600 check they're going to get. And this bill shows that when you do that, everybody does better. The wealthy do better. Everybody does better across the board. This law is not the end of our efforts, though.